everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get Out of Rap. Today, I'm joined by James Connors, the founder and director of Quetzel. We have been talking for a while now, often about charity work, sport, boxing, UFC, but also what Quetzel are up to. And it's fascinating stuff. We've started working together, and I'm really pleased to be joined by James today. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Appreciate you having me, mate. Appreciate you having me. Looking forward to having a chat today and spending a bit more time with you over however long this goes on for. Yeah, really exciting opportunity. And yeah, you're right. I feel like we haven't really spoken much about contact center or the business. We seem to get sidetracked pretty much every time we speak.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. But we will definitely try and keep ourselves honest today. Now, to get to where you are now, what? Let's go back. Where did it start your kind of journey into this industry?
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting question because originally I didn't think I'd have anything to do with IT, technology, contact. Like it's just if I look back to myself at 18 to 20 years old, it would just be a very alien concept. So originally I was a roadie. I used to tour all over the country. Job satisfaction was through the roof, but didn't really make much. But it was a good time. Enjoyed it. Then I ended up in the finance industry, doing currency trading for quite a while, and then I knew that I didn't want to do that, but I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. So I was speaking to my parents, I was speaking to my friends, and I ended up speaking to one of my dad's closest friends at the time about what he does, and I was just basically complaining about what I don't want to do for life. And he said, "Well, have you looked at this? Do you know anything about this?" And I said, "Okay, cool. Let's talk." Um, Run me through the whole IT industry, how exciting it was, what you can do, how much people need technology, and it's only going to increase, and how much fun he'd had over the 25 years at the time that he'd been doing it. And I sort of forayed into that world, and then I tried to get some jobs at companies starting at the bottom of the ladder and trying to work my way up, but no one would give me a chance. So I had to go and work in an O2 phone shop on the high street for a while, which at first I was a bit unsure about, but it did give me a good grounding in terms of because I knew nothing about things like mobile and carriers and all this sort of stuff. So it was a good start, and I did really enjoy it. And after about a year or so of working there, I then started calling the companies that had rejected me a year before and said, "Oh, I've been doing this for a year now. But would you be open to giving me a chance?" And that's what I did. So I ended up working for a couple of resellers for a number of years. So back in the day of alternative networks. I was there when they were sold to Daisy. I don't even know, 2016, 2017, I think it was. And then after that, I moved into Vendorland and went and worked for a couple of the big American companies and selling their product before thinking, oh, maybe I can do this for myself at some point. And then 2.5 years ago, I took the leap and here we are.
There's so much there that I love, just around finding your finding your thing to do, and you don't have to be definite. And even some of the way you found it, right, about knowing the things you didn't want to do, and still being and still looking at, okay, well, what does that tell me about what I want to do? So
Mhm.
being within this world, what was it then? What was it that you liked that you previously didn't like when you were doing currency trading?
I think with the currency piece, it was the whole sort of aspect of that industry. It's about making money, and there's I've got no problem against that, but that's literally all it was. And there was no life around that. There was no, I mean, there was a social element in terms of going out post work, but there wasn't really much to it, if you know what I mean. And I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it. I met some great people, some people that I still work with now, to be honest. But I just really liked the flexibility around the type of conversations you could have. And instead of it being quite transactional, which the FX world is basically, I want to change my pounds into dollars. Can you do that at the best price? I really liked the element of understanding a business and understanding the people within the business in terms of what they're trying to do, why they're trying to do it, and what happens if they can't. And I just really like the whole business outcomes and building that relationship and getting to know people, instead of just being on a phone, doing, I don't even know, 3 hours a day, making as many calls as we could. I just found it really interesting. And as soon as I started it, I was just like, yeah, I think this is where I want to go. So yeah, that's how that started.
And then what about making the change from employed? At what point did you start to think, I want to do this on my own. I want to set up my own company.
Yeah, I mean, I'd sort of thought about it for years before I did it. Um, I think there was an element in terms of confidence. And what I've sort of looking back a little bit now, I mean, I'm sure you've got it with friends as well. Loads of people would love to start their own venture, but I think from what I've seen anyway, a lot more people seem to be in love with the idea of starting a business than the reality of what you've actually got to do to make it run. And for me, I was looking at some businesses that were already doing it. Because I was on the vendor side of it, we would deal with people like me constantly. So I got a lot of exposure to people like myself and entrepreneurs, quite regularly. And I just really liked the way that they were talking and what they were doing and some of the tactics that were working, some of them that weren't, the relationships they were building. And I think for me, I at my last company before I decided to go for this, I was going to do it before I worked there, but I thought, no, let's get another year of experience, new people, new experiences. Maybe there's some things that I don't, the whole don't know what you don't know thing. Maybe there'll be some things that I'll learn from these people that I didn't have from the previous company. And again, maybe I'll learn some things that I definitely don't want to do. So I went there and it didn't really work out very well. I was in and out within 10 months. I think three bosses in 10 months. The company just shrank and I was like, okay, I think I'm going to go for it now. And I just thought if it doesn't work, which hopefully it did and does, if it doesn't work, I can say I've done it. I can say I tried it, and for whatever reason it didn't work. And I'll go back into the world of employed. But yeah, it was a big step, and I'd sort of run my own company, air quotes, back when I was sort of 17, 18, when I was in the roadie world, because I was doing some promotional work for bands, I was doing PR stuff, tour booking, loads of stuff. But obviously, it's a totally different world, right? Because that was literally like a Facebook page and an email address. So, um, so yeah, I think that answers your question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, it does. I'm just really keen. I'd love to understand that kind of. Can you remember being sat down and mapping out, even starting with the name, what you wanted to do, what the company was going to represent, and how you were going to show up? Was there, or was that just over a period of time?
I think the sort of concept of it was over a period of time. Um, because I'd seen other people doing it, and I got it quite quickly, and I understood that it was this was what I do now is the only way that they typically do things in America. Um, and when you would speak to Americans about how people are typically buying their technology and software for their businesses in the UK, they couldn't get their head around it. They found it a very unique way of working. So from a concept perspective, I really liked the way that it was done. And from a name perspective and branding and sort of what we represented, I think, I mean, for me, I just wanted to keep it as honest to myself as possible. And I don't mean that in a cheesy way. It's just, I'm very, I hope I'm pretty easy to sort of work and collaborate with because I just don't lie. I don't tell stories like that. It's just much easier, I find, if you're just honest with people and you either find people you can work with, like what we found together. And if you can't, then at least you know where you stand with those people and they know where they stand with you, right? So, from a representative perspective, it was about be authentic, be honest, and work hard. Work hard for people. And I think so. I think we do a good job at that. I hope we do that, and I hope that comes across in the engagements and the relationships we have with our customers and suppliers.
Oh, 100%. And just from a personal point of view, it's one of those. things in the calendar I look forward to. I think it's not just because of the tangents we go on, but you said something really interesting then about the concept of where you work, of the way you guys work being different. Can you just explain that? What is the difference then that you found initially and that you've carried on with now?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, it's about um, how can we how can we help find technology, whether it's CX, IT, operations, how can we find solutions that help people deliver the projects that have been outlined to them by their board, by their investors, maybe a blend of both, um, to achieve the ROI and the goals that they genuinely want to for the business so that they can make an impact on the business, but also the business achieves what it sets out to do. And it's a case of what we do is we try and remove those middlemen, even though I suppose I kind of act as one, um, and take those customers directly to the suppliers. So we found a lot of benefits from that. And to be honest, most of what we talk about and what we promote isn't anymore. It's not what I think. It's when I'm speaking to our customers. It's the sort of conversation where it's like, well, why did you want to do this? Why did you give us an opportunity, and what did you get from it? And in one way or another, it all seems to relate back to a couple of things. And the way that we see that is one, the support can be a lot better in terms of the relationship that you have with that supplier because there is no one in between. It's literally you and the people who make that software building that relationship directly so that they understand you and they can give you what you need. Pretty straightforward. A big one for us would be from a negotiation perspective, when you look at legals and commercials, again, you're dealing with the people who make the software, right? So if you need to get to a certain number or there's certain things that you know you need as part of those contracts, you're much more likely to get it because it's
Mm,
up to them whether or not they will or won't agree to that. 9 times out of 10, they do. But again, you can have that conversation quite frankly because, again, it's the people who make the software. And the innovation thing seems to be the biggest one because I mean, you probably see this constantly as well. The sheer rate of innovation,
yeah.
pace that the entire technology landscape's talking about. I mean, if you think about a couple of years ago, I mean, what we talk about all the time these days, AI. 2 years ago, that was a concept and it was something that's coming. Now it's everywhere. Um, so it's a case of how can we help people navigate that busy marketplace to find the solutions that do exactly what they want, but then once they've built that relationship and they've got that technology, because they're working directly with that supplier, they're right on top of everything that's coming out, right? They know what's coming down the line. So in terms of where they're trying to go as a business, they can forward forecast a little bit in terms of, oh well, in the next 6 months there's 5 new features coming out in that product. We think we can see a use case for 3, and that's how we think it would, apply to the business. But you can be creative and you can also feed that back in terms of what you want as a customer and have that built into your product because ultimately they want to build their relationships. All these suppliers are trying to increase their market share and get the brand out there in a positive way. So if delivering something for you works, then they're probably going to do it because
Yeah.
they want you to stay with them for a long period of time.
You touch on so many interesting points there. The complexity, all whether it's just new suppliers, but certainly from a, like you say, from a technological point of view, it's, yes, it's amazing, but it must be so confusing. So when you have customers coming to you, is that kind of navigation that you offer critical to them?
Yeah, and I think what we've learned as well is that there isn't a one size fits all approach for us, and we wouldn't want to do that anyway, because what might work for me might not work for you.
Mm,
And if I try and force you down a certain route, our relationship's probably not going to last very long, is it? If you're being honest. And I think it's about looking at what that person wants to achieve, but then also, again, as much as you talk about the technology in the business, you can't lose the person in that. You can't take out their experience, what they want to do, and how they want to do it. So I think for us, it's trying to be fluid when we're navigating that landscape because there's so much technology out there. Um, we always start with a sort of listen and learn approach. We're not there to pitch anything, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't actually own any products. We don't have anything to sell. It's a case of understanding where you are, where you're trying to get to, what's holding you back, and then if or where we'll try and bring some solutions to the table that can do that for you. So it's very much a listen and learn piece. Sometimes they turn into a bit of a therapy session, but that's a good thing, right? If
Yeah.
like people have got a safe space where they can have that open conversation without being judged, why wouldn't they? I mean, it's something we certainly talk about quite regularly in that early engagement. We're not here to expose people. We're not trying to throw people under the bus or grass you up to the leadership team. We're not trying to do that. We're here to help you. And the only way we can do that is by listening to you speak, to keep it simple.
I think it's such a necessary step that people could take. I mean, certainly from the CX and the contact center world, having been in positions before in my career where we've got a challenge, and part of that challenge has been we need to go out and get some new kit. You feel that pressure, and it's the pressure of making the wrong making the wrong decision and being into the project and then realizing it doesn't have some of the things that you really needed. um, to be able to have spent time with knowledgeable, trusted advisors that could help. Because I even now I still see it with people within the industry who will say there's so much choice they didn't know about something that might have worked better for them, and they're already committed. And you can see the frustration on their face when you're talking to them about, oh, have you not checked out these guys? No. And
Yeah.
that is so common.
It is, yeah, and I won't name them, but we were dealing with a business, or we're starting to build out on that relationship now. A business that got tens of thousands of staff, and we was having dinner with them back in February, and they're, yeah, someone on the board mentioned that they just spent 9 months in an RFP process, and they weren't even sure they built a solution that actually did what they originally set out for, which is scary. And
Yeah.
I don't blame them at all because there is so much out there to be looking at. It's a case of how do you tell the difference? Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
There's, everywhere you look, there's reports for this, there's events for that, but it's how do you sort of get past that? And what we try and stop people from doing is bending their requirements to fit the technology, where it should be the technology needs to bend to exactly what you want. Because if you don't get that, and it doesn't deliver what you want, you're never going to be fully satisfied. You're never going to get to where you want to go. And ultimately, when that contract gets into its last 12 months, you're probably going to start looking around again anyway. So it's a case of how do we try and be helpful? I think it's just listen to people. Um, and there's certain instances where we can't help. But then what we would do is say, I'm not someone, or the company isn't in a best place to help you for this reason and this reason. Maybe we can connect you to somebody else who might be helpful.
mm.
Um, and that's all we're trying to do. I believe for me, it's a big concept in terms of paying it forward. Just trying to be helpful to people and be useful where we can. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
It does. And that your strap line behind you there is one that I was kind of drawn to straight away. That sourcing technology to turn strategy into reality, I think is great, because so often it can be that you have the horse designed by a committee comes out as a camel. um, and to be able to do that, you must get a lot of satisfaction from all of the success stories that you've had to date, because you've worked with some great customers, you've got great suppliers, and you've got some great case studies out there as well.
Mm. Yeah, we're very fortunate um, to have those customers that again have given us a chance to come in and try and show what value we've got to try and help them. So we can't really take any credit because we're just there to try and be helpful. But the stories that we've got and the relationship we've built, it does come down to those really simple foundations of just tell us what the problem is, and we'll be honest with you. I think what you also get as part of the engagement is me and my team collectively, we've got over 30 years of experience. And when I look at the people around us that we draw into, that can come in and help, we've got an analyst on the books who we use to build out reports, build information, and make sure that we've got an ear to the ground when we're looking at the market in terms of not just what's here now, but what's coming. Consultants that we work with, technical resource that we work with. I mean, you start to get into the realms of hundreds of years of experience.
Mm.
So from my perspective, we're in that sort of generation or that age group, I should probably say, where we sort of caught the tail end of that on-premise world, and we've seen that phase one of cloud, and now we're seeing where it's going in terms of the future. And we've lived through all of that, right? So we're still seeing people that are in that on-premise world, and there's still pros to that. But they're looking for that digital transformation, bringing the cloud into the business and becoming a software first type approach. Um, there's a lot that comes out with that as well. So for us, we just try and make sure that we are bringing the right solutions to the table. And I think as much as you need to, sometimes we need to make sure we bring the right resource to the table in terms of when we bring those suppliers in, we're not just bringing in a person that's representing that company. A lot of it comes from our networks and our relationships with those suppliers as well, because we are agnostic. We don't have a limited portfolio like your resellers do, where you might have two or three really strong propositions that you've got a lot of investment in and a lot of resource geared around that. We've got relationships with everybody you would see in all your magic quadrants and your reports and all the players that you would typically see at the events. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that when we put these people in front of people who might need a bit of guidance, might need a bit of support, and are looking to source technology that's going to deliver on those goals that we talked about earlier, um, that they are going to do a good job. I really don't like some of the questions that you get from people who basically haven't prepared around, when you start getting people asking about timelines and budgets, it's just such a red flag. And the way I try to sort of keep it going and look at it is a case of they need some help. They're looking at the market. They're not here because there's nothing better to do. We don't need to be asking these type of questions. Just focus on the problem and how you and your company could solve that for them and potentially be the next supplier that you build a multi-year relationship with. So yeah, that's what I think is probably there's some importance around that, and that's what we try and stick around to do to make sure we support with.
Yeah, I love it. And for you personally, has it been, that again, that kind of thought about I'm gonna set this up, and this is what I want to do, and this is how we're gonna conduct ourselves.
Mm.
Um, like you say, you'd done some of it before early on. You'd been involved with people who were doing it themselves. Has it obviously nothing like this, and I know as well, is nothing is like a nice smooth path
Yeah,
upwards, but has it
lovely if
been
it was.
enjoyable?
Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. I've absolutely loved it. It's been the best decision that I can remember making for a while. I mean, I've got it, um, like I've got this page where I put like my tasks and like key things and projects we're doing for the business. And at the top, I've got three little lines that I read every so often. And the one that I've got underlined is this is the most fun I've ever had professionally. Because I love it. I generally do wake up and it's the first thing I think about. When I start a day, last thing I think about at night. Sometimes I'll be scratching down ideas at like 1 in the morning. Um, yeah, it's so much fun. It's so much fun for so many reasons, to be honest. And again, obviously, you've been on your own journey as well, so you know that as much as there's some lows, as long as there's more highs, it's worth doing, right? So, yeah, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Hopefully, it will be the last sort of venture that I ever do, to be honest. If I can do this until I'm finished, whenever that is, I'll be an extremely happy man from a professional perspective.
Well, there's something there about that's just all I hear there is like that it's passion, isn't it? It's passion in what you're doing, and that's not something that is transient. It's got to be meaningful.
Yeah.
You can't be passionate for 3 days a week. That thing that's keeping you looking forward to another day of work, another day of progress. That's you found your calling.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully, I mean, again, it might sound a bit cheesy, but when I feel like we're actually making a difference to one of our customers in terms of delivering on a project, making their life easier, finding a solution that they hadn't heard of that can do exactly what they want, making sure that the project goes correctly, and they do start to see some of the return on investment they were hoping to when we first started speaking, like that really does give me a buzz. It really does. That's my coffee, that really does get me going for the day. And I find it so much fun. And I do love the creative element of it as well, when, we get the odd conversation where someone's like, right, this has come up, this obscure thing needs to happen for this reason. Can you let me know if you can help? And we love going out there and seeing what we can do. We don't just bring anybody to the table. We only want to be dealing with credible, vetted suppliers who can deliver. But it's fun. It's fun being creative and acting as that extension to the entire CCAS market for a business. It's good fun. It is good fun. Do love it.
And there's a lot of problem solving there as well, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, there is. There is. And again, that is something we pride ourselves on. We often win, and when I say win, I'm not talking about the commercial elements of a deal, but in terms of something is put on our table, we can typically find a way forward or a way round to deliver for that customer. And again, if we can add value like that and we can be useful, that's where we can build on that relationship over a multi-year period. And really get stuck in and be really helpful. And, in situations like that, from a creative element and strategic thinking perspective, sometimes we go on site and we'll do a day, a couple of days a week. And again, we'll speak to multiple people within the business, um, and get everybody's take on it. We don't always, as much as we're there to talk about the CX piece and help with that, quite often we'll end up speaking to HR, learning and development, sales, everybody really. And I love that, to be honest, because I think people think as contact centers as just a business unit that just ticks away, deals with problems. Sometimes they make some sales, brilliant. But I think when you see how closely linked it is to revenue and a
Mm.
successfully operating business, and you get everybody's touch point around the business and how they work with it, it's really cool to see that, yes, this is the problem that we need to solve, but we also need to make sure that we factor in everybody's requirements. Because if everybody's bought in, then you're going to get a project that's going to be more successful, because everybody, this is quite an American slogan, but everybody literally is pulling in the same direction, because they've all
Yeah.
had a seat at the table, they've all had an input to it, and hopefully they'll all get a win out of it. And that's the bit I like with the problem solving, right? How do we satisfy multiple people's requirements and deliver?
Well, and you guys are the conduit to can be the conduit to doing that because there's no previous history, there's no feudalism, there's no, do you know what I mean? Some of the internal politics that you
Yeah,
get. You talk about everyone pulling in the same direction. You can be the catalysts to doing that because often it takes that third party, knowledgeable party, to bring everyone together because they can't. It isn't about who's got the biggest toys internally.
yeah, totally agree, totally agree. And yeah, again, that's what we try to do, right? Because there's so many directions that this can go in from a customer service perspective, and what good can look like, but also what bad can look like. So from our experience, it's a case of once we've done that work and we do start to bring the vendors to the table, and we make sure that they're focusing on the right task and not asking silly questions and being a nuisance. It's a case of how do we then help that customer procure that solution.
Mm.
So what's the process that they're going to go through, right? And again, because we don't try and push people down a certain route and it's one size fits all, we'll typically start the conversation with, what's a couple of examples of projects you've done successfully in the past? Because we're trying to work with you, right? So we want to know what works for you, and we'll try and fit in around you. We're not trying to be, we're not trying to, I would say, take over your governance or get in the way. We're trying to act as that extension of you to help you get what you need done. Um, and I think once you bring those suppliers in and you start to get to the sharp end, there's an element of our experience that comes in there because we've been on the other side of it. We've worked for these American Silicon Valley multi-billion dollar, New York Stock Exchange listed businesses. Like we understand how they tick from working inside the business. So now we just repurpose that knowledge to help people make sure that one, they get the right solution within budget to deliver on the strategy that they're trying to outline. Um, we also try and stick around. Well, not try. We do stick around for the post-sale element as well. So we don't just once we've connected to suppliers and helped you get a deal, we don't just go right. See you later. Let us know how you get on. I'll speak to you in a year. It's a case of making sure that we know what resource is going to be allocated to that business. So what's the team? What are you buying to help you get that solution in and realize that return on investment? How long is it going to take? What are the key milestones in those projects? There's a lot deeper that we could go on that, but I don't want to put you to sleep. But it's making sure that we can get that solution in as well, because for us, there's as much as we're talking CX today, as much we do also work in IT and we work in operational as well, and they all do flow together, right? So if we can prove our value here, maybe we can expand on that relationship. But even if we don't, if that means that we've done a good job and you understand how the model works and you're open to working with us and keeping that relationship there, fantastic. Fantastic. That's a win, and that's what gives me the buzz.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And you mentioned the sort of three key areas that do overlap, but that's what IT,
IT,
CCAT.
yeah, IT, CX, a contact center, and operations. Um, so, but if you look at the IT element, we're talking networking, security, LAN, internet, all of this type of stuff. Contact center, obviously, there's a lot as part of that, which is why we've given it the respect of it having its own sort of portfolio and suppliers that come with that. And then the operations is basically how do we get everyone and all your tools that you've got working and talking to make you as efficient as possible. There's also some outsourcing as part of that as well that we work on, but not to be biased because I'm talking to you, but CCAS and CX is I would say by far our biggest leader and the one we do the most work in. Um, Again, I know we said it earlier, but in terms of what can be achieved and how critical this can be to a business,
Mm.
I've always been a little bit biased towards it. And I just think I think it's great. I think it's great.
Now, you mentioned something earlier that definitely comes across for anyone that spends time with you. This is important to you and the whole team, but that's kind of paying it forward. And if people check out your website and the about us, as well as seeing our relationship, there's two key things that are really important to you and the team there, aren't there?
Yeah, there is. Obviously, we're working with industry leading voices like yourself to get the
Stop
message
it.
out there. And I'm flirting now, sorry. Yeah, but we also work with Moses Itauma. We've been with Moses for where are we now? March, September last year. We've been working with Moses, and it's great. I mean, I'm a big sports fan. I know that's one of the tangents we typically go on, and yeah, I do like my boxing, but I just really like helping sort of foster that talent. And what he's going on to do is incredible for his age and the way in which he carries himself and he handles his business. He's a very impressive young man, and we're very privileged to be part of his journey. Very privileged. So yeah, yeah,
And for that,
all the success to him.
for those people that don't know, Moses Itauma or Ituma,
I think it's a tell me, yeah.
Itauma, a very impressive young prospect who I believe he's the WBC Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's also, I think he's back in the ring May 24th. Um, but the big goal for him, which he talks about every time I see him or his family or his management, is they see him as the future of British boxing, and he wants to be the heavyweight world champion. He wants to unify all the belts, and to be honest, the work that I see him putting in, and how disciplined he is and how he doesn't get distracted. He's very focused on the job. Um, I can't see why he wouldn't at the moment. I can't see why he wouldn't. As I say, he's a very focused and he's a very driven young man. But he's also a really nice guy outside of it as well. He is a really nice bloke. He's easy to talk to. You can talk to him about absolutely anything. And he's got some really good people around him. So that's a cause that we're very grateful to be a part of, like I say.
How did that come about?
So I know his management through there's a members club that we work out of in the city, and his manager is another member of that place, and we just started chatting about some other things that we've been looking at doing, and he brought him up. I knew who he was because I've been watching his fights from pretty much day one, and he just said, "Oh, there might be an opportunity to collaborate with him if you're open to it," and I was obviously very open to it. Um, and it was quite simple. Once I met him in the team, I was in straight away. I was in straight away. So it was a very simple and easy thing to do, to be honest. And as I say, I'm really glad we did do that. And hopefully he goes right to the top. Fingers crossed. I hope he does. He deserves it.
Oh, that would be great to see. And maybe there could be some content where, I come along and watch you train with him.
What would I be doing? Would I be in the punch bag?
No, just the physical workout, you just follow one of his sessions.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm happy to sit on the sidelines and watch, but no, we are starting to work on some content with Moses. Um, yeah, so keep your eyes peeled. It's a conversation that we started probably where are we? We're about 4 weeks ago, 3, 4 weeks ago, and we're just getting all the. There's loads of things I'm learning about that side of things in terms of the video production and all that piece. But we're just starting to put together the mood boards and the storyboards and all that type of stuff. So we'll see what
That will be great.
keep
And
your
then
eyes peeled. We'll get you involved where we can.
not as a punch bag, please.
Someone's gonna have to.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, that's one cause that we work with, and then the other one is quite personal to me. So we're a donate. Well, we donate to Great Ormond Street charity and Children's Hospital. I'm sure people will know that. Will not
Mm,
know that we donate, but they'll know of Great Ormond Street. And for me, that's a that's the charity we've aligned ourselves with. Not saying that we wouldn't look at others. We certainly would, but basically, they're the reason that I'm here. I spent bit of time in there, shall we say, when I was a youngster, and they looked after me, and I've always looked fondly upon that place, and getting through what I did, I always knew that I wanted to give back, and we've done over the years since I was about 15. We've been doing charity walks, we've done car boot sales, um, even back in the day, we would donate. We're going back away here, but we used to donate VHSs and stuff like that to the wards. So we've tried to give back as much as possible. And for me, it was a very simple decision to make in terms of giving back to those who had given me so much when I was younger.
mm.
So really proud to be a part of that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to working with them for a long time. There's a few things we might do down the line with them as well, getting them involved in some of the events that we're working on and some of the promotional work that we're considering as well, because we want to get them out there as much as
Yeah.
possible. How much difference that'll make to them, I don't know, but I want them to be visible and present wherever we can.
It all makes a difference, and more power to you. Your personal connection and like a basically what is a lifelong commitment to supporting them is humbling, but also well worthy of support wherever I can, wherever anyone that's listening can, because I think it's an amazing establishment and something that I think it's one of those institutions where it makes you proud to be British that we have a world renowned, world leading hospital, but without support, it it's not going to be around forever. We can't just assume that it's going to be around forever. We've got to support it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and they're expanding. They've done some refurb work over the past couple of years in terms of um, new wards, new things that they're pushing into as well. But Yeah, it's been around for such a long time, and I'm not saying people do, but I personally feel like it's been forgotten about a little bit in terms
Mm,
of what they actually do. So I think if people looked at the work that they get through, and how many children that they save across whatever the ailment is and the illness, they get a lot more wins than they potentially could. So yeah, this isn't not trying to push it too hard, but if anybody has got some spare cash, I know things might be a little bit tight at the moment, but Great Ormond Street, you know, could do with funding.
yeah.
It needs help. It does need help, and as you say, it's a long-standing British foundation, and yeah, because of what they gave me, I want to give back where I can.
And let's and it's on your fresh new awesome looking website. Um
Appreciate it.
you're you're heading towards bigger and better things, doing more of the sort of stuff that you guys love. Um what's your plan really for the next sort of next year? Just more of the same, keep going.
Um, it's an interesting question. Do you know what? It's the sort of thing I've been thinking about recently. One of the things that I've got written in the original business plan still is that with where we try and go and what we're trying to do. I like to be flexible. Like maybe it's not the traditional way in terms of the entrepreneur 101 type stuff that you would read, but we don't have like a proper rigid plan. I would say it's more like a pinball machine in terms of ideas we've got that sort of makes the strategy, and we'll see how we go and where we end up. But yeah, I think for us, some of the relationships we've built with the customers we're expanding on those in terms of more projects. Um, always, we'll always talk to anyone who's willing to talk to us and give us an opportunity. Um, but yeah, I'm not too sure, but it's probably a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if it's too early to sort of get it out there because we've got so much we're working on with the video production piece that we'll put out there. Brand new relationship with your wonderful self. Um, yeah, I think it will probably be more of the same probably this year, and then once the dust settles and we get 2025 out of the way, who knows? Who knows? But I do try to be as flexible and open minded as possible because you can't say no to opportunities because you have no idea where they go.
So true. So true. And I'm definitely stealing that with pride, the pinball, for when anyone asks me what my strategy is, because I like it. It's just the ideas, you should be able to be flexible, especially in our world and how much things change. And like you say, they're all accelerating. You don't want to be, held back by sticking to no, this is what we're doing. So I'm all behind that. How can people get in touch with you and the team?
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways. We've got an email address, ask@quetzel.co.uk. We've got the LinkedIn page. We've obviously got the shiny new website that we've put up, which has got a contact us form on it as well. Um, but if anyone wants to speak to me, something really simple is just sharing my number and giving me a call or pinging me on WhatsApp. I try to be as available as possible, and yeah, multiple ways you can reach us. But yeah, calls, emails, website, LinkedIn.
And it isn't just yourself, James, is it? Everyone I've met at Quetzel just has that kind of approachability, but just being normal, decent human beings, which is very appealing.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we've got a team of four now. We're going back out at the moment. We've got a couple more people I'd like to bring in across different areas. So I might tap you up about that at some point in terms of your network, if that's all right. But yeah, you've got Harry Gower who joined me at the beginning of the year as director for the business, and he's here to sort of help me with our go to market, our strategy, and expanding on the relationships we've got with the clients and building that client base. We've got Ed Smith who joined about 5 6 weeks ago now as marketing director. So again, everything to do with um, strategy, go to market, delivery of all things branding, all things content and marketing. Ed runs that show and he's been doing a great job. He's been doing a fantastic job. So really glad that we managed to convince him to join us. And then you've got Abby Botel, who's our operations director. Um, she wears many hats, to be honest. She's I would say she's the Tom Brady of our business. And then we're just there trying to catch everything she puts out there. And yeah, originally Abby started with me about a year ago on a sort of part-time basis, just sort of helping me pick up the pieces as she started her business and we was growing. But she's been a real asset to the business. So I'm really happy with the team we've got, and it's not by design, but every single one of them lives within 15 to 20 minutes of where I live. So that definitely wasn't in the job description, but it ended up working out quite well for us.
Yeah, you must live within a 15-minute commute of me.
Yeah, and then all we do is use our local landmarks, which is just basically pubs to get together for a strategy meeting.
Best way.
Yeah, no, we're really happy with the team that we've got.
Well, James, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. I know this will be the first of a few, and we can delve into. You cover so many different areas. We can delve into a few, but I'm. Thank you so much for doing this, and also supporting me as well. But it is already in a very short space of time, you're becoming a bit of a role model of mine because it's just nice to know that decent people can do well, and I'm fully behind your bit. You know what you guys do as a business, I think is great. So that I'm hoping this is a start of quite a few interesting things we're going to do together.
No, I really appreciate your feedback, Martin, and I think the thanks is more from me to you in terms of the opportunity that you've given us, that the platform that you've built with Get Out the Rat. I've been quietly sitting on the sidelines for a couple of years, watching you grow and watching you build that, and you deserve massive credit to get where you've got to in terms of how you keep the show fresh, the audience you've got, um, and the impact that you have on people. I mean, I've spoke to a lot of people where we're mutual friends, and everybody says the right things about you, all positive. Um, and yeah, as I say, I'm just really pleased that you've given us an opportunity to join the party. We've even managed to navigate the whole Arsenal Tottenham divide, haven't we? Managed to put that to the
Uh,
side.
n-
So
well,
you must be doing something right.
come on, let's not get too carried away.
No, it's
No,
good.
as you know, as far as Gooners go, you're a lovely bloke.
I'll take that. I'll take that. There's a few comments I could give you back about Spurs, but
Oh,
based on
yeah.
where you are in the
I,
Premier League,
I,
I'll leave you to
I'm on thin ice. I know that.
it. No,
James, thank you so much, my friend.
good to speak to you.